So I want to compare the expensive Apple iPhone 15 Pro, great phone, but very expensive, starts off at $1,000. And I want to compare it to the Samsung Galaxy A54, a super premium mid-range phone that you could get for as low as $50 on prepaid here in the US at Metro, and you could order that online. So we have $1,000 phone on the left, and we have a $50 premium mid-range on the right, and I thought it'd be a great video to show you the differences and see both of these guys' specs and make up your own decision on which one is better. So let's go ahead and get started. So both of these devices were released in 2023, the iPhone in September and the Samsung in March of 2023. So both of these are pretty much new devices. They're only separated by a few months. Now, size-wise, the iPhone 15 Pro is a little bit tinier in size, 5.7 inches by 2.78 by 0.33 inches. The Samsung Galaxy is a little bit taller, 6.2 inches, a little bit wider at 3 inches, and actually the same thickness at around 0.32 inches. So the Galaxy A54 overall is a little bit bigger. Now for the weight, the iPhone is 6.6 ounces versus the more heavier Galaxy A54 at 7.13 ounces. So although the $1,000 phone is more premium and weighs a little bit less than the heftier A54 Galaxy, but for some reason when the device is heavier, it feels a little bit more premium. So I think both of these are kind of close right there. As for build quality, the iPhone is better in general. It has a glass front and it has a titanium frame, while the Galaxy A54 has a glass front and glass back, but a plastic frame. But if you're gonna slap on a case, it really doesn't matter, and that's my personal preference. I usually put on a case no matter what. A phone is an investment, and you can protect it all you want, but the day that it hits the floor and for some reason it just breaks, you're out of luck. So the connectivity and the SIM card situation are different for these devices. The iPhone has eSIM capabilities. It doesn't have a physical SIM, while the A54, the Samsung one, does have the physical SIM card chip. So in my opinion, I do like having that physical SIM card so you could swap out phones and SIM cards just like that. So advantage on the Samsung. Both of these have dust and water resistance, but the iPhone is a little bit better. IP68 versus IP67. The iPhone can be dunked in water for 6 meters for 30 minutes, while the Samsung is 1 meter for 30 minutes. To me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't put it around water. I don't put it around pools. Just stay away from that. This is a very minor protection right here, because you shouldn't be using your phones in water anyways. Both of these have NFC, so you could both use it for payment systems. Google Pay on the Samsung, iPhone has Apple Pay. For the display, both of these have really great displays. They both have 120 hertz refresh rate, but one is $1,000, while the Galaxy, the super nice mid-range, also has a super fast refresh rate. So that's a very premium feature available on both. You get a 6.1 inch screen on the iPhone 15 Pro versus the bigger 6.4 inches on the Galaxy A54. As for the resolution, the iPhone is slightly better at 461 ppi versus 403 ppi on the Samsung, and the iPhone does have an always-on display. But very impressive that the Samsung has a 120 hertz refresh rate for $50 compared to the $1,000 on the iPhone. Software-wise, both of these will get several years of updates, 3 to 4 to 5 years typically on iPhones, and Samsung is pushing hard on software updates, and they will also be supporting several years of updates. So don't be alarmed if you get a mid-range phone with Samsung. You're going to get lots of years of updates, which is very important. As for storage, both of these start off at 128 gigs, so one's $1,000, the other one's $50. Very, very good with the storage. But there's a bonus for the Samsung. You get the micro SD card slot. As for RAM, the iPhone 15 Pro is the first iPhone to upgrade in RAM to 8 gigs, while the Galaxy A54 has a good amount at 6 gigs of RAM. But remember the pricing, $1,000 versus $50. I don't think you'll find lots of difference between these devices. I think 6 gigs is still pretty good on the Galaxy. That's the minimum you should get nowadays for Android, and 8 gigs does feel slightly more premium for an iPhone, but trust me, both of these are great amounts of RAM for the respective operating systems, and they're both going to be pretty snappy. Now for the cameras, the iPhone has 3 cameras on the back. Also with the Galaxy, you do get 3 cameras on the back, but they're different. The iPhone has a 48 megapixel main shooter, 12 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. Galaxy A54, 50 megapixel main shooter, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro. Now both of these are great cameras, but I'm going to give the slight edge obviously to the iPhone 15 Pro. iPhones have the best cameras in the game, pound for pound, but it's not to say that you're going to be disappointed by the Samsung cameras. This Galaxy A54 is a really good mid-range. It doesn't have the same great camera capabilities as a top tier S23, but it's very close. And for most people, myself included, taking pictures outside or anywhere where there has some type of light, you're gonna be very impressed no matter what. If you're just sending messages, posting on social media, you're gonna be fine with both of these devices, but obviously the slight edge goes to the iPhone. Now for the selfie camera, both of these are very impressive. The iPhone 15 Pro has a 12 megapixel shooter shooting at 4K, while the Galaxy A54 has a 32 megapixel shooter also shooting at 4K. I think that's very important. If you're shooting 4K video on the selfie camera, that means it's a pretty good phone to take pictures and videos, especially at $50. I think that's a very great advantage on the Galaxy A54. Very impressive for a $50 device. Neither of these phones have a headphone jack, but you do have Bluetooth 5.3 on both of these, so newer versions of Bluetooth. NFC, like I mentioned before, both of these have it for basically for payments. As for charging, both of these have USB Type-C ports now. The iPhone finally went over to USB Type-C on the Pro model, so you get to use the same cable for all your devices. You got your laptops, your MacBooks, your iPads, your Android phones, and pretty much all your other devices that are out there. As for unlocking, the iPhone 15 Pro has Face ID, while the Galaxy A54 has a under the screen fingerprint reader. They're both going to open up your device pretty fast. And I forgot to mention that the iPhone 15 Pro on the screen for the Face ID, it lives in the dynamic island, which takes up a little bit of screen real estate compared to the Galaxy A54, which just has one little tiny dot for the camera in the screen. As for battery, both of these have really great battery life. The iPhone 15 Pro comes in at 3274 milliamps, but the Galaxy A54 comes in with a massive 5000 milliamp battery. So obviously, I think I have to give it to the Galaxy A54. Androids in general, it doesn't matter if it's a cheap one, a mid-range, or a top-tier Android phone, they're gonna kill the iPhone in battery life, and very impressive for $50. As for charging, the iPhone 15 Pro, it charges 50% in 30 minutes. It has MagSafe wireless charging at 15 watts, Qi slower wireless charging at 7.5 watts, and it also has a new feature where it could reverse wire charge with the wire other devices, like mostly for Apple Watches and for your AirPods at 4.5 watts, while the Galaxy A54 sadly only has 25 watt wired charging. That's going to disappoint some people, but for me, I prefer the big battery, and I usually do wired charging even if wireless is available. So which one is a better device? I think you can't go wrong with either of these devices, but the big point is that the iPhone 15 Pro is $1,000, which is very, very expensive. And for $50, the Galaxy A54 is just a better overall deal. Now that both of these have USB Type-C, they're very similar devices. But you're getting a lot of similarities. Apart from that, you got 120 hertz on both of these phones. You have a 4K selfie camera. The Galaxy A54, it has a bigger screen, more screen real estate, and it has that gigantic battery. And both of these devices are going to get several years of updates. The Galaxy A54, it is considered a mid-range device, but has a very small price of only $50 on Metro prepaid here in the US, and it's just a tiny hair under the S23 line. So you definitely aren't going to feel like you have a cheap phone with the Galaxy A54. The iPhone 15 Pro, on the other hand, you're going to get the best of the best. And if you've been waiting for USB Type-C, though, this phone finally has it. So it's a good matchup, but pound for pound, dollar for dollar, the A54 is probably a better deal for most people, as long as you don't care about iMessage and AirDrop and stuff like that. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I think both of these phones are a great comparison, and at $50, the Galaxy A54 is a very awesome device.